Hi guys!
Welcome back to the Unraveling the World podcast.
Before we get into today's episode, let's hear from our sponsors.
This episode is sponsored by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain it to you really quickly. To start off, it's 100% free, and there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it could be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more platforms. In fact, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. If you're interested, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Today's episode, we'll be discussing the Olympics, Tokyo 2020. So, many of you may have been curious as to why it was called 2020, and it's called 2020, even though it's happening in 2021, because the Olympic Games were actually supposed to happen in 2020. However, it was postponed due to COVID, and it's happening this year.
Well, it already happened.
Yeah, so it happened. It happens this year, but that's why it was called. That's why it's called the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, and not 2021.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask a question. What events do you like to watch on TV, and why? Or who do you look up to in these events?
I look up to Simone Biles, and I like watching gymnastics. I like watching javelin throwing. And something that I really liked, especially about Simone Biles, was how Simone was able, she dropped out due to her mental health, and that's such an inspiring thing. And hear me out. That probably sounds weird, but it's such an inspiring thing because many people in our society, it's considered they couldn't handle it, they couldn't deal with it, they just didn't want to work hard, and they're just quitting because they just gave up. But she showed how so many people were looking up to her. She's a very good gymnast, and so many people were looking up to her, and then she withdrew because of her mental health. And it just shows that you should prioritize yourself always, which is not something I believe this generation does a lot. And Simone Biles, so it's also said that she could have done it either for the money or just because she had the twisties, which is a condition that affects the sport and can leave you with a very bad mindset for the competition and have consequences. And in addition to that, her aunt died during the games.
Yeah, she was obviously under a lot of pressure, and she chose herself, which set an example for a lot of people, because a lot of people think that, if I withdraw, the entire world, not I'm not saying that as a joke, literally the entire world is watching her, and she was under a lot of pressure because even on camera she's so stressed out, even giving interviews or whether she's performing whatever acts she does in the air, and the fact that she stepped back but she was still there on the bleachers cheering on for her team shows that that she cares about who she is as a person.
Yeah, Simone Biles, she stepped down because of mental health reasons, but also she had the twisties, which is a spatial not a disorder, but a thing gymnasts face when they're mid-air during a performance or an act, where they either lose balance or vision of what they were performing, and that can, for obvious reasons, it can lead to very serious injuries, right? And so obviously because of that, and a lot of people people think that she put it on mental health, going back to what Melvina said, people think that she put it on her mental health, and she used this as a escape route, and which is completely not true. If she says it's mental health, people need to take her seriously, and people only take her seriously when she is giving the people what they want. getting a gold medal or what she's doing, or like getting, when she has the whole world's eyes on her and she's looked down on, of course, like it's going to affect her mental health. Imagine being a teenager and the whole world has these set expectations for you, and if you're not able to reach these absurd expectations 24/7, of course it's going to mess with your mental health. Like, so that really, like, for obvious, like, that obviously affected her. But also, like, I just think it's so absurd that people thought that she was like lying, or the amount of backlash that she got was insane. Like on TikTok and everything was pretty insane. And people also hated on Naomi Osaka when she stepped down from the French Open to tend to her mental health. And she released like an article, and it came out on the Time magazine, and I was flipping through it the other day, and she said that it was okay to not be okay, and it was just a simple statement, and it stood out to me so much. And before that, I didn't necessarily like think about how much pressure, like, especially athletes who are Olympians, or just athletes in general, have so much pressure on them 24/7. Like, they're physically training 24/7. Like, they're always out, and they never have the time to actually take care of their mental health and do the things that they want. Like, when I say they want, of course they want to do their sport, that they love it, which is why they've gotten so far. But also, like, the simple things, like relaxing by the end of the day, like these simple things. And I didn't think about that, and it like stood out to me so much. The fact it was just a simple statement, like, it's okay to not be okay. So I just thought that was very, very, like, it touched my heart. So yeah.
Similar to Naomi Osaka and Simone Biles, there's also another person who I watch. So we were talking about what events we watch and like what are our favorite events. So I usually watch gymnastics, swimming, and track and field. So in swimming, there was like this new event added this year. So the Olympic mixed medley relay, right? And one of the four people that were participating on behalf of America was Lydia Jacobi, right? And when she was performing her part of the relay, her swimming goggles, they like came off, and they fell like on top of her mouth or whatever, right? And obviously that impacts the way that impacts her performance, because she's not able to breathe and she can't do it, and she can't see properly either, because it's like not on her eyes, and it doesn't work. And that kind of like slowed her down, and a lot of people were blaming her, or like posting stuff about her, saying like, oh yeah, if she like didn't mess up, like USA could have won. And USA like wasn't able to win, obviously, but you can't win everything all the time, and it wasn't her fault. She didn't expect for her goggles to come up. She didn't plan for that to happen.
Yeah, like there's been so many incidents like that, and it just, like, the whole world just looks down on the people. Like, even the Olympics itself, there are many flaws within the Olympics itself. Like, if like the people listening, if they don't already know, like the 5 rings in the Olympics, like, symbol, it's like a symbol for the union of the 5 continents, and it's like the meaning of the athletes throughout the whole world. And with that being said, even though that's such a like nice symbol, there's been a lot of like racist things that have happened within the Olympics. Like, for one example, like for the swimming, there were like a couple women who were like swimming for, I'm not sure what like stroke it was or what it was, but like they had to wear a specific type of hair cap, and because of like the texture of their natural hair, they had to wear like a specific hair cap. And apparently the Olympics said that, like, whoever the people were said that they weren't allowed to do that. Like, they just couldn't wear the Olympics the swimming cap that was made for their hair. So I thought that was pretty like messed up. Like, what are they supposed to do? Like, when you're swimming, your hair can come into your face, and that can affect your like performance and so many other things. And I thought that was pretty messed up,
Yeah, there were a lot of, stuff like that happened, and that's obviously like not okay because, we expect stuff to not be normal, but we expect for things to be better, especially because now that we're living in like the 21st century, and our world has developed a lot since the beginning, but there's still a lot of bad stuff like this that happens on a daily basis, and it kind of just shocks me.
Yeah, and also, so basically there were two Namibia female runners that were banned from the Olympic 400 meters. So basically, the reason they were banned is because they had natural, they had natural high testosterone levels, and people thought they injected themselves with something or to make them perform better, and just because they had high testosterone levels, they were banned. And after the health check happened, after that, it was known that they were completely unaware of it. So the fact that it was completely out of their control and it was just their natural body that had those high testosterone levels, it's completely unfair. And these are small issues that happen. There are many small issues like this that happen throughout the Olympics that a lot of people didn't talk about. And
Yeah.
these are things that most people don't know that happen because people are only focusing on the good things. And obviously there's so many good things about the Olympics, but there are many small unfair things that affect the Olympians, and their country, the Nambia female runners, it affected their whole country because everyone is rooting for their own country. And when you ban certain people for something that's out of their control, whether it be the type of hair that they have or their high testosterone levels, you need to think twice about that. That's out of their control, and you're banning them for something that they can't control, basically.
Yeah, and speaking of the negative stuff, I agree that sometimes people often have one-sided opinions and they focus on the good stuff, and the bad stuff is often undermined. So I wanted to talk about something else that maybe not a lot of people know about. So the cycling event, obviously, in the Olympics. So I remember reading this article near the end of July, kind of. So a German official was sent home for racist slurs at the Olympics, and I'm not gonna I'm not gonna speak too much about it, but it was basically he was saying he was using a slur when he was urging certain riders from African nations of Algeria and Eritrea to speed up, and he was using that slur, and he stayed until a certain date, and then he was forced to leave the Olympics. So it wasn't really on the news, and it wasn't oh my god, this is what happened, breaking news. People often just look at oh yeah, this country won, this person broke this record. It's not really about what's happening, and a lot of stuff happens behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Yeah, and also there was this Iranian person who fought for I forget what sport it was, but his name was Javad Faroughi, I think, and he was from Iran, and he got a lot of terrorist accusations simply because he was from Iran. And obviously what, and I feel because it's the audience that is claiming accusing these competitors for because of these absurd things. I feel the Olympics themselves could have made this statement, made a statement on their Instagram or whatever, to stand up for their Olympians.
Yeah, I feel that's an important thing to talk about. But I also feel as if there will always be bad people in the world, and I love the fact that we can educate these people. But regardless of how many people we educate, there will always be some sort of disgusting comments about race, and I don't know. It's part of history. It's something we can't really avoid. But what we can do is, as you said, Ishani, what we can do is we can speak about it. Hopefully it would be able to help someone or something. by speaking about it, educating people. I'm sure that just sitting down and talking about it with people that may have said a racist comment can make a huge difference, because you really never know. You should at least try.
Yeah.
That's why I think that if the Olympics, if they could have said something about it, I'm also sure that would do. It's also possible that it could do the opposite, and it could create worse.
Because the Olympics, they stand for like these games and everything, and if they brought up all these different issues, a lot of people who may not share the same ideas that they do might stop watching. Everyone wants money, so Olympics, they would lose a lot of
I also that's true, I do agree.
So that is an important thing to talk about, but I feel like that's I don't know, it's you still it's very important to stand up for the people who are competing for your games, not when they're racing so much backlash for something, I feel like they kind of need to.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about the negative aspects, not really the negative, what's kind of hidden behind or undermined, but I feel like we also should talk about a lot of the accomplishments and the positives, because there were a lot of positives as well, and a lot of people literally made history with their accomplishments. So I wanted to bring up Sunisa Lee. So obviously she's also another gymnast like Simone Biles. She competes on behalf of the United States, and she literally made history because she was the first Asian American to receive a golden medal. And that, there's not a lot of Asian representation, so I thought that was really cool that she was able to do that, and she was able to represent a lot of different cultures and religions with her accomplishment.
See, something I agree, that was incredible, but something I was really proud of was Niraj Chopra. He had a victory in javelin, and he's from India, so he gave India its first gold medal in track and field. So he's done something great, for Indians at least. He's done. So I was just really proud of him, because I'm Indian too.
Yeah. That sounds Niraj. I heard about it and I was like, oh, that's nice. It made me feel nice. And
yeah, it makes me feel, I don't know.
It sounds so
happy.
But yeah, it made me happy too. And there are many other Indian athletes who competed, and it made me happy to know that
he's the second Indian to ever win an individual gold. Do you know that?
Who was the first?
I think it was Abhinav in 2008.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he won an athletic medal in the Olympics.
Yeah, I feel like it. I feel like it makes us feel good that there's someone from India there, is because we don't see that many. Even we're saying so many Indians in the Olympics because we've seen only a certain type of people in the Olympics. Not necessarily, but even the few people that we are seeing that are representing India, it makes you feel good.
Yeah. And hopefully, and also the thing is, I don't know, in India, I feel like it's, often, oh, yeah, study, you have to, study and stuff, so, I don't know, especially becoming an athlete is, really cool.
Yeah.
It's very, for Indian parents, that's pretty, they view it as a risk, because most Indian parents, let's be honest, they want their kid or son.
Yeah.
If it's a daughter, they want them to go in the med field, and if it's a boy, engineering or something like that, And, for Indian, I feel like it's pretty cool to see, it's really aspiring to see for people brown kids in India or wherever they're living, to see people representing whatever sport they might be suppose in the Olympics itself, that's something in their brains. It's probably something that they want to be there someday, it's a dream of theirs, and to have someone to look up to is amazing. For parents it can be scary, but I feel like if they have one goal and they're fighting for it, they totally can.
Yeah. obviously there's a lot of like good and bad stuff that happened in the Olympics, and we kind of like covered a lot of them. But yeah, I look up to a lot of these people, like Monique said, like especially Neera Taki. They made history like representing India, which is often not like underlooked, but you know, India is not really known for like sports and athletics. Obviously like cricket, but I don't know, like javelin, like I don't know.
That's
That's like
not something that you hear about every day.
yeah. So that was really cool. And I don't know, I think we kind of covered a lot of points, but unless you guys want to add something to the discussion.
No,
I think I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of important things. Like, we also brought up the bad things and obviously the amazing things like Niraj and everything. And it's really important that we talk about them because I'm sure a lot of people didn't know. Like, at one point I didn't either, about all the people that competed and the reason Simone Biles like stepped down. They might have thought, like, they're hearing what media is telling them to, and obviously I think that they should do deeper research. But I think we covered a lot of important points today.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to tune in to next week's episode.
Bye. Have a great day.
Bye.